Hey everyone, Miss here, and today we are doing the last episode of my Rebuilding The Sims 1 series. It's a series where I did speed builds in which I recreated the builds of The Sims 1, and today we are finishing off with the biggest build of Neighborhood 2 because we already finished Neighborhood 1 and now we are working on Neighborhood 2, and this is one sim lane. I think it's so weird that Americans write the number first. Like, I would say sim lane 1, but you know, it's a small detail, but it confuses me. I'm sorry. But we are working on this castle. It actually was a castle. In Sims 4 terms, it's not that big of a deal. But, you know, it still looks really nice. It's more of a mansion right now, but we are giving that castle look to it by using a lot of stuff from the vampire stuff pack. So right now I am working on the layout, and in The Sims 1 it actually had a 2-frame door, but I just didn't think it fit the build as much in The Sims 4, so we are scooting over everything one more block. So this is actually 1 block wider, but because of that it actually turned out a lot better than I think it would if I just stuck with the 2-block door. I don't know, I just think it looked wrong. So right now we're working on the roofing, and oh my god, this was so frustrating. You can actually see me struggle with this for so long. Just imagine this is sped up like 800% or 850% or something. So imagine how long this took me in real life, you know. It was just so frustrating. I couldn't get them to work. I think the roofs are amazing that we finally have them, but just the way they added it, I think it is total shit. I just think the whole system of how the octagonal roofing works, it just doesn't work, basically. But yeah, in the end it turned out pretty okay. It just looks different than the Sims 1 build, but you know, it looks pretty cool for a Sims 4 build. It works with what I'm trying to make. So right now we are going to add some more details to the roofing because I thought it really needed some more, you know, more extra details to make it look really castle-like. Because right now, as you can see, I'm trying to add the ridges to the build. It looked kind of bland when I didn't do that. So I am just trying to figure out a lot of decoration for the outside of the build because I really wanted to give that feeling of a castle, even though it's more of a mansion-like building if you look at it, for like Sims 4 terms, but who cares. So yeah, anyways, still working on the details. Wow, I did so many decorations on the outside, it took me forever, but I'm really glad I did that because the details look so good in the end. And you know, I used a lot of the vampire stuff in here. I actually didn't know what to do. I wanted to make it look nice, but also stick a bit to how the build used to look like. So right here I am just changing color swatches to make it look more appropriate for what I'm trying to achieve. And it took me so long, this build. I think this build took me like 5 hours, 4.5 maybe. I don't know, that sounds like a lot. I know there are like builders out there who are a lot faster than I am, but that's okay. I'm just trying to make this this build. It is going to be the last one of my creating The Sims 1 or rebuilding The Sims 1, and I just wanted to make it a good one, I guess. So now I am working on all the other details that we have, like doors and windows, because I really wanted to stick to the floor plan that it has. Even though it was a bit of a strange one, it was really open. There aren't any rooms on the bottom floor, but on the top floor we have, I think, only a bedroom and a bathroom, if I'm correct. Yeah, there were 2 rooms and we are just making that. But right now, as you can see, because I made the build a bit wider, I'm trying to figure out how to make the windows work, because we had 1 block to spare and it didn't. It just didn't work anymore with what I used to, not used to have, what I was planning to do. That's more because I sketch out a lot of my floor plans before I make them, especially with these ones, because you do want to kind of stick to whatever you had in The Sims 1, so I'm like counting blocks and everything. So yeah, that was what happened. But right now, again, working on the decoration. This is more of the, you know, really the decoration. The other ones were just a lot of pillars and stuff, but right now I just wanted to make it look spooky, because it was actually one of the more spookier builds, I think, as a kid. That's how I remembered it, you know. It was that spooky medieval castle that you just didn't want to visit, basically. Talking about visiting places, can someone remember the whole system of The Sims 1 of how you visited other places? Because usually you were on your home lot. You didn't do a lot, and I think the first time you could travel was with the house party expansion, if I'm correct. I'm not sure. I was really young when I used to play The Sims 1, but it is so funny how far The Sims came, if you think of it. Just the fact that we don't have an open world anymore in The Sims 4 compared to The Sims 3, but I honestly, I don't mind. I don't miss it. I think the game is so much faster right now, and it's worth a lot more than an open world, to me at least. I can imagine that someone wouldn't like it, but you know, but just if you compare it to The Sims 1 and how far things have changed, I just think it is so funny. I love The Sims and I grew up with it, and to see how far the game has come, I don't know, I think it's amazing. But right now we are working on the landscaping, and it was so terrible. I don't like this garden. It's just that that's how the gardens kind of used to look like, and I kind of wanted to recreate it in this build. I normally don't make gardens like this. It's so flat, I think, but you know, I don't really understand why they made these flowers like this in the first place. It's so square, so it just doesn't fit in the style of The Sims 4 anymore. I think they would have done a lot better job if they had it like, how are these called? I use some bushes a lot. It's sort of grass that I place around a lot of the trees most of the time. I think if they made it like that, it would look a lot better, but you know, because this is The Sims 1 build, basically, we are just going to stick with it. The garden actually used to be open in the back, but that was because that's how the home lots used to work. You didn't really have to be bothered by, you know, closing the back, because everyone came from the front of the lot. So I decided to just close it up. It looked a lot better, and it makes sense in The Sims 4. But yeah, we're just doing some terrain paint. I just can't stand how flat it looks. I really hope we are going to get terrain tools at some point, because I really miss having hills or just something to work with, because right now everything is so flat in The Sims 4, and that's actually kind of a bummer. I was really looking forward to having like a home on top of a hill and just make it look really pretty, but then it turned out we couldn't. And it was how old is The Sims 4 now? 3 years ago. And I remember when I first got into build mode, I was so surprised. I was looking for the terrain tools like I think 15 minutes, and I thought I was missing it, but it turned out that the game was actually missing it, so it wasn't me. But frustrations, you know, maybe in the future. I really hope so. Okay, so now we are working on, I think, the last bit of the garden, and then we are moving on to the inside of the build. I'm sorry if it takes long for a lot of people. I know some people aren't really, you know, fond of the landscaping and everything, but you know, I really want to show everything, and I usually do landscaping first so that it is like out of the way, because if I'm really honest, I don't really like to do landscaping. It's not the most fun part of the build. I think I am usually not as inspired whenever I'm doing the landscaping. It's just something that's there, and you know, it finishes off the build, so that's why I do give it my attention. But if it were me, and just me, I wouldn't do it. I just want to make it look pretty for whoever wants to download my builds, because it should be a finished product, quote unquote. So that's why I try to make it look nice. But if it was me, I never really play in the gardens anyways, unless it's like a maybe a monkey bars for kids or something like that. So usually I don't really pay attention to it. So yeah, anyways, I think we're moving on to the inside. Yes, finally. It took me so long. I actually took a couple of breaks before going here. So right now we are finally working on the inside of the build, and oh, this was so fun, but I still didn't really know what to do, because the pictures that you have of the Sims 1 build, it isn't really something that we can do in The Sims 4. We don't really have similar wallpapers, I wanted to say, but it's still, well, wallpapers basically. So yeah, it didn't really look the same. Oh, and right here I did something. Oh my god, it took forever. Like these tiles, I'm going to get rid of them and then I'm going to replace them, but that also didn't look right, so I ended up like doing this instead. And oh my god, it took forever, but it finally, you know, the end product looks okay. It looks how it should look, but it took me quite some time to go around the whole room. Especially those diagonal parts. Oh my god, it was so frustrating, because I had to keep rotating the tiles to make it work. But either way, it turned out pretty cool, and I had to do the same damn thing on the bottom floor as well. Oh my god, it was so terrible to do, but in the end it looked as how I wanted it to, so that's a good thing, I guess. So yeah, here we're doing the same thing on the bottom floor, and I'm trying to figure out what floors work well together. I actually ended up changing the outside flooring as well, because there's a little part that sticks out in the inside of the build, so I wanted to make it look alright. So now, moving on, finally some furnishing. I'm so sorry if this is your favorite part of a build and it took me so long to get here. I just wanted to make this build so detailed, and especially because this is my last one of this series. I wanted to go out with a bang. I don't know, I just placed a lot of details and I put a lot of my attention in these builds because I wanted to make them perfect. Maybe I'm a bit of a perfectionist whenever I'm making these. It's just something I have. I want to create cool stuff, and you know, it takes some of my attention, but I think the end results, yeah, it speaks for itself. Also, the thing with this build, it was kind of frustrating in a way because the original build, the Sims 1 version, is really empty. There is barely anything in it, so I had no clue what to put in all those empty spaces because I don't like to have a really open space. I don't think it makes sense. It sort of does in a castle, so that's why I kept a lot of it quite open, but not as open as how it was in The Sims 1, and I think it turned out pretty good, but you know, it took me some time to figure out what to put where. But in the end, it turned out pretty cool. Again, like I said, I'm so sorry. I don't want to try like sound really full of myself, but you know, I just really love this build. I love castles in general, but this one in particular turned out pretty cool. And oh, right now I'm doing a lot of the decoration again because, you know, I think that castles kind of have to, how do you say, show off some form of wealth, so that's why I think there should be a lot of art and a lot of like maybe even statues or something like that, so I work with that. I'm not sure if I actually place these knights that you have, these you know, armors. I don't think I actually work with that. That's so surprising. That's actually one of the things that I come up with now, but I don't think that I used it. That's interesting. You know, that's so fun when you look back on how you were building. You're so much in sort of a flow and you're just trying to create something that works well together. And right now I just thought of something that clearly my brain didn't figure out whenever I was recording this, so that's kind of funny. Also, we are now doing the curtains, and oh my god, these were a bitch to place. I don't know why, but some of them just didn't stick on the right spot. If you could see height difference. I don't know why it did that, but you know, we figure it out. But still, just a little, you know, annoyance. Just a little annoyance. But am I nagging too much in this video? I don't know. It's just such a long video and a long voiceover. I'm not really used to doing voiceover, so please excuse me if I'm like sounding negative, because I'm not. I really love this build and I enjoyed doing it, but looking back now, there are so many things that I just look at it and it's like, oh my god, why is it like that, you know? It's just all these little pet peeves, and now I'm looking at them 20 minutes in a row, and it reminds me of how annoying sometimes Sims 4 building can be, because they try to make everything smarter, but it ends up not being so smart. It ends up being frustrating. But you know. So yeah, again, sorry if it sounds negative. I'm not negative while I'm building this kind of things. It just, whenever you see it back like 20 minutes in a row, you just see it. But what I also just saw, what I did was the 3 carpets on the floor. I would normally not do that. It looks odd to me. I'm like, why the hell would you do that? Maybe just place one larger one, especially with the ones that you can have with vampire stuff pack. Why not scale these up and make like one larger one? But this is how they have it in The Sims 1, and because we are trying to recreate that, I just went with it. The 3 carpets on the floor. It's an odd thing, but you know, also a fun detail if you know what the build looks like in The Sims 1. Also, one thing that I was wondering, as this is the last episode of the Rebuilding The Sims 1 series, at least for Neighborhood 1 and 2, would you like me to do one of the other expansions? Because I'm really open for that, but I'm not sure if people would be interested in more The Sims 1 recreations. Just let me know in the comments down below, because I was personally thinking of maybe doing a pack like Unleashed, so we could use the cats and dogs stuff pack. I'm not sure if that's like a complete thing that we could use, as we would miss some of the smaller animals that you used to have in The Sims 1, but you know, we could figure something out. Maybe use like statues of a bunny instead of a real bunny or something like that. Something creative, you know. So yeah, just let me know if you want to see more Sims 1 recreations, and if so, what expansion pack we should move on to, because right now we are finished with both of the neighborhoods that were pre-made. So yeah. Anyways, right now I'm just going to finish up the build. I'm trying to make it more detailed again. Seriously, just look at all those vampire stuff pack things. It helps so much with this build, but it might be a bit overkill. I'm not sure. But anyways guys, that was it as far as the speed build. So here are the screenshots so you can have a look at all the details, and there's a download link for you in the description if you want to have this build. And if you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you're new and you want to see more of my videos, make sure to subscribe down below, and hopefully I see you guys next time. Bye bye!